Hi there. Vanny, how are you, my brother? How is Italy? Hi, Claire. Just waiting for Daniel just joined in. If I can go back to have a look if I can re-invite Bernardo. Just waiting for Professor Bernardo to join in. Unable to join. Why is that? I wonder if it's the setting.
Hi, my friend.
Professor Bernardo.
How
are you?
Very good. And you?
I'm doing very well. Hey, let's have a look if we're going to get a better line over here. I got my camera horizontal. Can you see me well?
Yeah. Is that okay like that?
Yeah, it's okay on my side. A little bit glary. The lighting is not that great, but it's getting better a little bit.
You mean my light, yeah?
Yes. Okay, that's a little bit
better now?
Yes, yeah. It is, yes. Let me just change my position so maybe the camera better because we're recording for later on if anybody wants to go back and listen to our conversation. Hopefully we can find some pearls of wisdom from Professor Bernardo. Okay, so the main conversation about today is about leadership. And the reason I've chosen that topic, well, I requested to you, and during the time I was working with you, I've noticed a couple of things really highlighted to me when I was working with you. One of them was your clarity and how you manage your emotions. You know, I never see you go up and down at all. Even, things were outside may have been really fast, but you look very calm, appear to be at least, So I want to pick your brain on that. Is that a trait you were born with? Is something you worked at? And how maybe emotional intelligence, which is related to what we just said, maybe how you integrate it in your leadership, because I know you've been working very hard progressively in Italy to build up 60 schools and extended to 4 countries, and obviously is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, but you embrace, I think you fought in MMA yourself, and other types of grappling, including you embrace wrestling, and that's how you and I start working with each other, and also somehow you like my philosophy of wrestling, and we start working together. So before we start, maybe Bernardo, can you tell us about yourself a little bit and where you're from and how you started, so for the audience to get to know you, because you're one of those leaders, you don't really look for limelight, you're Mac in the back, but the light out of front, where as I experienced in Italy, was there.
Well, I think I was one of the first starting jiu-jitsu here in Italy. I started in 1997 and no black belt in Italy at all. I had to travel a lot for training, and most of all was a self-made man, in terms of I fell in love with jiu-jitsu towards Royce Gracie's performance in UFC 1,
Okay.
I started watching these, and I was pretty young at the time and practicing traditional jiu-jitsu and some kickboxing, and Royce Gracie for me was the light you mentioned before, because
he was the light.
Yeah, because it was something new for me, technique over strength, slim boy winning big man, and at the time, no rules fight was killing someone else, punching till the end and blood all over. that was the first time I was watching someone winning with technique, you know?
With technique.
Yeah. Submitting people, almost not throwing not even one punch.
Okay.
That for me was the illumination. I want to be like that, you know? And
it was illumination. So it gave you a direction, I guess, yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you then?
Sorry?
How old were you then? How old?
1997, I was 22.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now jiu-jitsu is huge here in Italy. Competitions are big, but at the time, I think, I don't know, 5 competition for here was big calendar, you know, and most of them, they were no gi. So
okay.
we started like that. Immediately after 1 or 2 years, I started training wrestling as well, but wrestling for grappling, you know. So
yes,
that's why I love wrestling as well. I started competing in wrestling later, but in the beginning, my wrestling was wrestling for grappling.
Which the leaders in wrestling often, if you come in a later age, as we spoke, they say too old, right? At least the old school, they're like, well, you can't wrestle at this age. I guess, you know, there can be many reasons behind that, you know, and some of them might be actually factually might be right if you look into, if you want to go to win the Olympic gold medal, and if that is the aim of objective of the leader.
Look, my idea of competing is something that everybody can do at the age he has, you know. Is jiu-jitsu allows you to compete even if you are 60 years old or 65, you know, of course with people of the same age, but something that is not possible in judo or sambo or wrestling. My last competition in wrestling was when I was 35, because after that age you cannot compete for the Italian championship anymore, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah. Also, I can add that wrestling, at least in Italy, is something that very close, you know, very close mind. If you start wrestling when you are young, the coach
is interesting.
Yeah, the coach will bring you up, will give you his energy. If you start after, at least we can say that I started for another purpose, because I wanted to improve my wrestling skills for jiu-jitsu and grappling, and also for MMA. Coaches here are not very happy with that, you know. That's
coaches
why
on which side? The wrestling side or the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu side?
No, the wrestling side, because
wrestling side.
what I loved from infused wrestling was this open mind. You know, if you train jiu-jitsu, you can improve your wrestling training under side. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you want to improve wrestling for grappling, is the same. That's why for me is something modern, something new with a big future above, you know.
Yes, and I guess for me, you know, one of the things was when, you know, from an early age of, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Britain, you know, from Carlos Lamas Jr. from Gracie Barra, and he's a student, Salvatore Pace, and he's Italian, isn't he? He's from Sicily, so he comes there quite a lot, and he was one of the first students. We unsure he might be the first guy who actually embraced it in Britain. So we're trying to find out if that is the correct information. And we got an Instagram live coming up based upon that, you know. But one thing for sure, when I see the growth on that, one of the things I've noticed, you know, from ourselves, from the wrestlers, when we come in to teach wrestling to newcomers, we will just automatically go into our wrestling mode, bang, doing a shot. And also that can cause not just them not being familiar with the shots, can cause trauma to the body. It's traumatic for someone to get thrown that way to a newcomer, and that intensity was there with wrestlers. And often, historically, they say wrestling for robots to be able to get to that intensity there. So my mission So-called as a coach became the reverse of that. How do I teach this to a total newcomer? And not many people know this. Only some of my close friends. My aim and objective was, if I can teach wrestling to a grandmother, then I'll be able to teach it to a newcomer. To that level of, and I really meant it. People take it as a joke, but I was like, oh, if they're standing there. And this started an idea because when my grandmother came from Iran, but she was sitting down, because I was still wrestling, I used to jump on her, and I used to try to do hand fighting with her. But she used to hand fight back. Seeing her on TV, she had familiarity. Familiarity with wrestling. That's when I realized, watching, first of all, is really important. And you don't have to go crazy. All of us can wrestle with children. We become this amazing, humans to be able to roll around with children without that intensity of breaking each other. Now, so-called the leader, now, I know when we teach in wrestling to newcomer, when we started wrestling ourselves, we only played games. It was about rolling around. It was same as how we were teaching the kids. And this is something we totally have lost in our mind. When we go wrestling, we just think about single leg, double leg, shoulder throw, and so on. Not forgetting, we need to move a little bit. Wrestling is about that movement, and some of the moves are very complex. There's, we were talking to one of our physios yesterday, and we were talking how wrestling is three-dimensional. How it works is not back and forth two-dimensional. So these are the things I think leaders, if they're coming to teach wrestling in collaboration with so-called BJJ in an older age and any age when they come into a room, not to give them away, at least bring them on board. Not every person needs to go to the Olympics. And these are where the type of things I really want to bring on, so-called Infuse. So Infuse was more philosophy initially. It was thoughts are coming in. How does it work? What is it? What is the function and structure? That's a part one. Then move on to part two. So-called if it's a championship, if it's for a lifestyle. We forgot wrestling is a lifestyle, even psychologically. To wrestle back. And wrestling, to wrestle back, it actually works with fluidity of the body, not the rigidity of the body.
True.
You see what I mean?
What you mentioned now is very important because it's something that your kind of idea of wrestling is very similar to jiu-jitsu philosophy,
Yes.
Because when you have a gym, when you have let's say a school, in your school you have old people, really young kids, and of course competitors, you have people training twice a week or people training twice a day. Yes. Everybody has to find his own dimension. This for me is a good school. Okay. I have 60 years old people training jiu-jitsu for being healthy, for losing weight or for having better physical condition, or even just to stay in a group, with friends and keep the problems out from. A good school has to offer these, and of course has to offer even something else for kids, for competitors. In my idea, jiu-jitsu philosophy is something that embraces all these things together, That's why I fell in love with your philosophy in the beginning, because for me, jiu-jitsu is like that for everybody. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is like that for everybody. So for me, it's easier to have a philosophy like that because it's something that works. If you want to work with jiu-jitsu, you have to be open-minded in this way.
Yes.
For wrestling, is something really new. I never found something like that before in wrestling.
I guess that's where we came together, right? Because first time we done a joint seminar together, and I think Cicero Costa was with us, right?
Yeah.
Three of us and he's a beautiful soul, And I didn't know who Cicero was at the time. Then we became friends, and I saw how three of us automatically, very instantly, that's the word, instantly we connected it, and I guess our philosophy matched.
Yeah.
And that's where the collaboration comes, which I believe leaders, they create their team, and that's where the collaboration starts, and it starts with that trust. Perhaps trust comes with what our philosophy, what platform we standing on, and you saying you are more athlete-centered rather than coach-centered. No, the doctor, now do as I want you to do, but you look to your athletes, clients, what is good for them, what they're looking for, then you cater for that, and it's got a more diverse application, I guess.
Yeah, everybody is different. Is different, you know. You can find in your school people wanting to be world champion or people wanting to be healthy. You know, like I said before, this empathy is something that the coach needs to have. You know, you cannot be like I'm like that. You have to be like that, like the way I say. Okay. You have in the beginning you have 100 people. If you do like that, let's say 20 of them they remain, 80 you lose. But jiu-jitsu is not only for competition. Jiu-jitsu is to be a better man or a better woman or a better kid day by day. Everybody has to find his own fight in terms of life or in terms of competitions or sports or whatever.
Yeah, responding back to the problems of life and, figuring out, isn't it? Going forward, having that thing to just sitting down and working with problems. And I guess, the nature of the speed of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, depending on what pointing system is out there, is a little bit to the structure of what wrestling is now, and where wrestling, what happens for a lot of intensity going out there, but you're still working out those problems very quickly, aren't you? But it takes such a long time. What happens in the school, where you're practicing that environment, where that leadership comes in there for progressively baby steps takes on. If someone wants it for life or someone wants it for, say, championships, are two different matters there, right? So as leaders, so you're dealing, first of all, to run in a school, so the business side kicks in as a leadership. Secondly, you're saying empathetic connection with the clients are coming in, what they're looking for, to be able to cater for that for life, not just for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it's bigger than BJJ itself. It goes to another domain of for life individually when they're doing other things there. So philosophy and attitude kicks in there, right? And so I guess I want to ask you, in terms of having that empathetic connection, sometimes nature of business based on competition. So and other schools kicks in, as a leader, how did you manage to keep that? How I've seen you operate your schools, and I felt like you were not pushy rather than pulley. You were more pulley. People came and you catered for it. You weren't just chasing and going there, take my ideas, or this is the way, try to expand your school as a leader. So maybe you can just share your story, how your school expanded from one. How did it start? Did it start for one? How did it start? It then went up to 60 school, which is quite a lot. How many years? And did empathy, as you indicated, did that come into it? Because empathy is one of from Daniel Goleman's sort of Harvard University's idea, emotional intelligence, the word he brought out. The empathy is one of the elements of the four. So I hear you saying empathy just now. So maybe we can expand on that, on a journey of you building your school.
Well, the story is kind of I created Medside Jiu-Jitsu in 2014, but before I was 10 years the leader for Italy of Rio Grappling Club, together with my coach, my Roberto Atalla, Brazilian guy. After that, I separated and I decided to create my own school. Few people from the old school they stayed with me, and they started to be the beginning of the Medside Jiu-Jitsu. Let's say 5-6 schools in the beginning together when we decided to be alone. I never ever asked someone from other school or with no schools behind to be part of my team. Why? I think it's something in the middle. My character is not like that. I don't like to involve people who doesn't want to be involved, or I don't like to convince people to be part of my project. You know what I mean? I prefer to be an example and to work hard to create something strong with strong roots, and of course being attractive from someone else. When I'm like that, I know that what I have is really strong and can be shared with someone else. If someone else wants, he can come to me, he can ask to be part of my team, and of course I analyze the kind of guy I have, I analyze what he offers, and most of the time, why not? He can be part of my team. Right. I don't ask them any affiliation or nothing, something like that. They only have to guarantee me at least 2 seminars for a year, but this is something to spread my way of teaching, you know?
Yes.
I teach them, and I want to know all of their students.
Yes.
This is something that in my opinion, makes Medsai Jiu-Jitsu something really strong. I know each student of every teacher I created,
wow.
You know? And I train with them, I roll with them, no problem. I don't have this funny idea of white belt cannot ask to a black belt to roll together. This for everybody can ask me to roll. I'm happy to roll with everybody. If I'm in good shape, if I'm okay, I have no problem. This created something strong in terms of we have 26 black belts, and all of them, they started with me from white. You know what I mean?
How many years would that take? Approx about 10 years, right?
Well, yeah. To be a black belt, 8-10 years, you know. Depends, of course, how many hours you spend on the mat. I have people who started 40 when they were 40, so they were kind of old.
Yeah.
But since the beginning, they trained twice a day, and of course, after 6 years, 7 years, they were black belt because they were competing, like something like 16, 17 competitions for a year. It's a lot, you know.
A lot.
And of course, I even have people starting 10 years ago, but coming once a week, then stopping, then quitting, then coming back, you know.
Well, you can sign in and come back 8 years' time and get your black belt.
Yeah, you can say, oh, look, I started 8 years ago. You have to give me my black belt.
So how would you, as a leader, keep this sort of track? Because you're saying for 60 school, you literally know your students. So you go to the schools, you do your seminars or annually. I guess you got a calendar for yourself.
Yeah.
And through your seminars, you really get to know your students. So I guess it's more than just a seminar then, you know, there's a social interaction going on there.
True.
So that's part of the emotional intelligence, you know what I mean? Knowing what other people think is one thing, having, you know, and channel your emotion towards that one direction, you know, when is needed, because emotions got its own functions, each one of them, self-awareness. But one of them, the element in terms of Daniel Coleman's work is that social interaction going on. But you're literally creating a microcosm of, like, you know, people come in there with your seminars, and you go in there and you roll in with them if they want to, providing you're in shape. But that's quite interesting what you're saying there, you know. You know, this connection you're providing, you know, and you also allow this for that openness, which some schools they don't embrace that today. There's a different type of system, so the white belt cannot roll in some school with the black belts. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I don't mean my way is the way, you know. It's something that I'm like that. My character is like that. I like to interact with people, and I don't like to be on top with people under me. You know, I like to be, well, on the mat, I teach, they are the students, but outside we are the same. You know, that's why I like to go for pizza with them. I like to go out, no problem, for ice cream. I love ice cream.
Ice cream and pizza is my favorite part of me touring in Italy.
You tried, you remember? Huh?
Yes, of course. I got many pictures as well to show.
Yeah. I can give you so many examples of other ways working for other schools, with black belts there, choosing people to roll with, even big champions, they do like that. I don't have nothing against it. It's not my way,
Yeah. So Matt side, fundamentally is your philosophy, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah. How you think. So when we go to Matt side school, we actually experience Professor Bernado Serrini. Can we say that?
Yeah. Yeah, you can say. Matt side is my life, my religion, my philosophy, my everything, Inside the school, there is every part of me.
Okay.
If you touch Matt side, if you go into Matt side, you can find myself for sure.
Yeah. And I've done a few seminars, myself, but I guess for the audience is when they're listening to it. So in terms of leadership, Bernardo, so we got Italy, we got certain type of culture there. So as a leadership in a culture of Italy, it's quite open, it's very expressive, at least from my subjective, my personal view, interaction. And me having a fundamental side of Iranian, very similar, So there's an automatic connection there with me when I'm in Italy. So you've been expanding to other countries. My question is, your leadership, your method, your philosophy, how it works in Italy as an Italian, when you go to these other countries, perhaps we can mention them individually, is there a common language underneath, can connect them? How do you connect them? Or they're completely different, you adapt again to their environment, the culture, and your social interaction again, because you individually part of a group as a leader there, then you're saying you like to keep things more on an equal level of the method, at least for rather than a hierarchical sort of a system, which is completely different. Perhaps some may say it's an opposite school.
Listen, but it's I have schools in Romania and Bulgaria, and sometimes I go there and I'm surprised the way they are like me, like us in Italy in terms of staying together, being a big family. I was telling to my student Christian Popov in Bulgaria, I say, look, your school is really, really similar to mine. Your way to be a teacher is really, really similar to mine. They train, they laugh together. They don't have this military discipline inside. They are respectful but happy, with a smile on the face when they train. After that, they go out for dinner together. If they have a problem and someone have a problem on the road, can call someone in the middle of the night, and this guy goes and pick him up and bring to the house without problems,
There's a brotherhood going on.
Yes. And I don't know if I was lucky to find someone like me, or if was the way I worked, the way I created the school that called attracted them,
Yes. Attracted. I guess what you said, you haven't got the method idea of you going, come on, be part of it. You like to present it. Then if there is so-called, if leadership is an art of persuasion, it might be or might not be, they get attracted to you. Well, if you're attracted to my idea, let's go ahead and collaborate, and you expand on that. And you are found, perhaps, but definitely from my side, I think, and you earlier from the talk, you said that's how we became together. Your expansion as a leader is being based on, if you're like me, this is my idea. Well, you're welcome on board on this, based upon this. So based upon that, if things, the philosophy you see change, and sometimes we see with human, after a while the situation changes, they may change and have a totally different opposite to your philosophy, the things you want in your school. How do you handle hard, difficult conversations or detachment if it's needed. Sometimes we do need to cut, don't we? If it gets to there. So if you see that philosophy, do you have a code of conduct, or how is it for you?
But you mean when some issues come out, you mean
Yes.
that, yeah?
Yes.
Well, it happened, of course. Not so many times, to be honest. Just a couple of times, not more. I think that in that moment, I have to understand what people expect from me.
Okay.
Not because I want to give them what they expect, because I have to resolve the problem in the optic of the school, not in the optic of me or the other guy. Sometimes I have to cut off the relationship. When I do, if I can choose, I choose to do in a soft way. I don't want to be enemy of someone else, but sometimes this is not possible. So I'm a fighter, so if you want to be my enemy, I'm here, no problem.
It's something you're familiar with.
Yeah, it's not my choice, but if this has to be the choice of someone else, what can I do? I don't want to charge myself with a bad energy. It happened, let's say, twice, okay, and I had to be strong and straight. I have to say, look, the philosophy of the school is this. If you don't want to follow that, okay, I gave you so many chances and you didn't get. So this is, you adapt or you find someone more similar to your philosophy.
Okay. So foundation, I guess your code of conduct comes with the philosophy. So if someone is, as you're expanding, come on to you and you feel like you're going to go ahead with it and open up a school, at the beginning of it, do you provide the philosophy for them, or is it a gradual thing that we learn about each other?
Let's say gradual is something that I push people to experience. My school in Livorno, sometimes when they want to be part of MedSide, I don't ask them to organize a seminar in the beginning. I ask them to come to my school, okay, and see the way we are. Is an environment that attracts people in even different people. We have really so many different kind of people in the school. So I cannot say that we attract similar people. We attract people who wants to learn jiu-jitsu with that philosophy. Yeah, but I don't want to be it's not only money, it's not only regarding of money, it's regarding of unit, it's regarding of being a family. If you like the way I work with my students, you can do the same in your school if you want to be part of MedSide. This is something that when I go there, I find something familiar,
because it's a representation of what your work is, isn't it? And if I guess you need to have some sort of code of conduct, which I got that in my school. There's certain type of things. One of the things passed on to me by my father, and he was a very assertive leader, but he always had a smile in his face. He literally will everyone, England rugby players, to a point. I was reading one of the articles about Nigel Redmond, played for England, World Cup. When he finished the World Cup, he wanted to come back to train with my dad. My dad had so much the brutality in his training. He said he's thinking actually not to come back that after a World Cup rugby. But he always had a smile when I love you, my son, all the things. It was always a smile. However, one of the things we do, no swearing on a mat. That was one of the code of conduct. As a leader, he just won't accept it. That was something, because he believed in clean mind, clean body, and clean doing. So I guess that's connected with the Persian sort of, the ideas, from the Persian background that had, but it came down to his philosophy, as his code of conduct, to be able to represent it. And his students represented him. Yeah. So that became a way of life. He was perpetuating in other bodies, so-called, with his ideas. And, to this day, those people carry those ethics, Ethics, I guess, comes into your leadership, as we say in it. But how does, now, from that standpoint, from having a school and expansion, as we expanding, the difficulty becomes managing so many people. But you said you visit them, the leaders follow your sort of, philosophy. That is the main bond underneath. So going to the competition, that's sort of a soft approach. Does the soft approach work for you in terms of a competitive going out there? As we say, we don't serve fish and chips in a match. You're out there to take the fish and chips away from each other. So it's like a hard matches going on, and you see it in BJJ and any other sports competitiveness. They are there to kill each other's dreams in many ways, right?
Yeah.
And how does it work as a leader? Soft approach? Do you switch over? Or do you just let it go to see how personalities are? How do you manage your competitive team?
Well, look, I have a very, very, very strong competitive mind in everything, Just okay. Let's say jiu-jitsu, but even if we run outside for fun, I don't want to be the second. So
okay.
Yeah, I think I gave to my students, at least the competitors, this mentality. Mm-hmm. They don't want to lose at all, but this kind of let's say aggressive mind in competition starts there and ends there. We don't want to lose. We want to be the best team in Italy, Europe, or whatever. We are working for that. We like to be like that. But so my energy change when I'm in the place for competition. Can be jiu-jitsu, grappling, or MMA, but you can feel that my energy change. I'm very aware. I'm very.
The lion kicks in.
What?
The lion kicks in. The lion.
So I think I give this energy to my students when I'm in their corner, screaming to them, preparing them before the fight, speaking with them. But in the same way, I pay attention to one thing. Don't stress them. I don't want to be so tight to make them tight too.
Yes.
They don't. If I'm tight, they don't have to see. You know what I mean? Yes. They have to be clear in the mind. The mind has to be empty to be to perform good in a fight. You don't have to prepare. I give them some suggestions, like if someone is in a white belt in the beginning, I say, look, don't be afraid of the submission. Just think about positions and point in the beginning. Submission has to come after. If you have a good position, submission will come.
It's a side effect.
Just be, or I don't know, decide if you want to play guard or work from top. Just something easy, And then
something to remember, I guess, is small and the beginning is coming in. And, it's overwhelming, isn't it? Because you just new environment and competition. You go in a fight or flight mode because someone's coming for you.
In something normally I say them is, remember, whatever you do, you can either win or learn, is something that is a sage, very famous in jiu-jitsu. If you go there, try to win. If you don't win, at least you learn,
Yes.
Because one competition is like 20, even more for me, training sessions in the gym.
Again, I think when I speak to you, the language you use, you keep things very simple. And it's a language that is accessible to the brain. doesn't have to think. Keep these things, you know what I mean? You got these little small things. Although you're intellectual and I've been to your house, I look at your, books and, how much you, also a lot of creativity with your work, in your house, you can see it there. But when you come to the interaction, you say with your students, which I would like to expand it, the difference between how you as a leader handle the beginners in comparison to a really high level sort of a guys, and I guess they will be meeting tougher opponents. But one thing for sure, clarity on the surface, at least for me, is you use this simple language and you don't get really intense on it. You just leave that to their mind for them to think, for them to sit with it, and without being overwhelmed. You don't stress them. You're saying.
Yeah, it's very important. Someone has to be happy to be in competition. It doesn't have to feel the weight of the competition inside. If someone goes to competition and the coach is tight, the environment is tight, this guy doesn't go anymore to compete. Okay. I see. I have some colleagues, friends, being really tight with the students, screaming to them. They don't have so many competitors. Because
they're more nervous. They're more nervous than that.
Yeah. It's not something that they do in a joyful way. When you go to competition, you have to be happy.
Yes.
You have to be happy of everything, of the competition, of the trip back with the dinner together. It's so
the lifestyle. Yes, the lifestyle you're saying afterwards, but also, over investing in as a result, you jump into win and lose rather than taking the baby steps. So one of the things comes up, success cannot be pursued. Happiness cannot be pursued. It has to be ensued. Let it baby steps towards it. Once you take your baby steps, the result will unfold itself or formulate itself, whichever way it may be. Then for certainly when a coach is more uptight, where their body in terms of a nervous system from a psychological perspective, it will go in a fight or flight. So for optimal performance, for the stress to kick in the body, you have to manage that in a certain level, so different ideas there, 120 minutes per, the minutes for the heart rate or whatever, and also the timing before the match. So if the guys are getting uptight before the match to get adrenaline to kick in, well, you're actually literally spending that energy there. So when you go on the mat, how are you going to perform? So the performance itself is, as with the coach or the leader, is still interpersonal within the environment. And this was one of the things with infused wrestling. Two main emphasis was, one of them was psychology, one of them was movement, meaning it goes to the body. So when I'm thinking, my body, it's got to move, that's what fight or flight is. It kicks in, and you see the coaches, and also when the guy's in a fight or flight, you're not going to hear certain type of, voices, because the brain shuts down to hear sort of danger. Even their voice, type of tonality, the way we speak, and you can bring the, person more to soothe in. If he's getting too wound up, you need to bring that up. So the awareness, not just for ourselves, self-awareness, when we see, when you read in the literature for emotional intelligence, well, it's just not one side for us. When you go in an environment, we're all interacting with each other there. Everyone's nervous there. It's a room of nervousness, whatever you want to call it. Then they got the leaders there. They're trying to manage their group. And like you said, if the leader's more nervous than the actual, on the surface at least, sending that signal out, we know this. If someone's like stressed, all the signals are there on the face even.
Of course.
So confidence may even go before the match.
The language of the body.
The language of the body.
Yeah, true.
But grappling is a relationship of two body, right? Very disagreeable one, is a disagreeable dance in terms of movement, but you're there to cancel each other out constantly.
Yes.
So he goes in there. So in terms of question, white belts gradually may change to more, working themselves up towards black belt. Is there a big jump? Are they all same in their weight category, like belt categories? How do you see it from your observation with the competitors managing them?
Well, what I see is white belt in the beginning, they are really tight in their body when they compete, but even when they train. So the body from someone who never trained jiu-jitsu to comparing with the body of a white belt with 4 degrees, let's say 2 years of jiu-jitsu, is completely different. More than from a white belt 4 degrees with a black belt, because after that, in the beginning, you use only the strength, and I'm not the coach that says don't use your strength when you are a white belt. If you ever use, okay, you will understand yourself that strength alone doesn't work. You need to add technique. Try to add technique to the strength. When you will be blue belt, you're gonna have a little bit more technique and strength. When you go to purple, brown, and black, the technique part is bigger than the strength part. And at the moment, it's very important to do physical condition, because when you roll, you use your mind, your technique, and less strength. But you need strength when you train with black belt like brown belt. So for my jiu-jitsu is a combination of strength and technique, physical condition, and leverage. You know what I mean?
So is the interdisciplinary, you honor each component or each element?
Well, yes. I think that the journey starts from white belt to black belt, combining the two spheres, strength and technique with mind, the 3 spheres together. And of course, one is a step, baby step, like you say. This baby step for a big journey. I put energy sometimes to make them understand how beautiful is this journey. And it's long journey. It's not short journey, but long is better than short, because...
And it's a never-ending story.
Yes, well, life is long, we hope. So you have something to do for the entire life. What's better than that,
What's better than that?
Yeah.
It is engagement, isn't it? Engagement towards something. And it's one of the... And the beauty of, for me, grappling, sports like this, when you start rolling with someone, depending on what he does to your reactions, it starts and ends continuously. Continuously, things are changing. It's not a, A, B, C, D sort of a type of system. It's a complex system. It jumps around. It has different elements there. With the rise of emerging wrestling and BJJ coming together even more as a mass. I know all the leaders did that before, but in a different pointing system, you see it. It's even getting more complex. And I guess with that kind of a sport, you can never fully describe it. Like you said, forever engages you to going forward. Once you complete something, you're like, it's a bit like a story. How many times you can read the same story?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
The story, every time I feel like, every time I'm wrestling or rolling with someone, the story changes. You're like, oh, that felt different.
Well, I like to say this as in the past, I had a teacher, and I was very young and very very happy to learn new things day by day. I was with the full energy of a young body, and I was with him. He told me, so why you have no patience like that? And I replied to him something like, well, I want to be the best one. I want to be the best one. I want to be fast in this learning. And he replied, and after that, what you do?
What are you going to do after that?
And I say, well, true.
So the benefits is there as well.
It's something boring, something you start, and after 3 days you complete,
That's it. And that's, something else to be able to understand that, to willingness to be puzzled. That's something else people haven't got, because sometimes it's puzzling, especially with wrestling. Yes, you know this. You know what I mean? To begin with, it's cloudy because you just don't get success with it with wrestling. And willingness to be puzzled, I think, is essential for life behind the mat, because a lot of times in life is uncertain. That uncertainty kicks in. And that's why if you become, have the tool to be able to go competition, to engage in it, not winning and losing, that itself, that side effect, it can help you with life, because every time you go to competition is uncertain. And people, newcomers are coming in. If you wait in one category for a long time, as you get older, you can see all these young guys are coming in. And as it's going on, new ideas coming in, or old good ideas goes on the side, new fashion comes in. Now you got to deal with a totally new technique, new approach, might be just based on speed. So constantly you're going to have to adapt yourself. That adaptation itself.
This is the life, no?
This is life. People say, well, I could do the same thing. Well, your body is even changing. At the age of 45, I'm 48 now. I'm a totally different cat when I was 18 and 20. And you see the midlife crisis, that adaptation, the willingness, I got to sit with this. I don't know what the answer is. The answer is going to come to me.
Yeah. I'm not a patient person. I learned patience towards jiu-jitsu,
Okay.
Wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, whatever, helps you to find a fast solution to a problem. And this is life, Okay. How many problems you find day by day in your life? So many. If you have the right state of mind, you remain calm, and you probably resolve the problem. You probably solve the problem faster than someone else, than other people.
So, based on what you just said, and perhaps we've got about 7 minutes left. We can go longer. It doesn't matter because it's between you and I. But based on this last question, I'm interested in: does BJJ give you that solution to the problems towards life, or was it your philosophy of your school gave you answers towards building that jiu-jitsu tools that you're saying it allows you? Or is it a combination? Well, which one's?
This is it's a good question. Probably my philosophy became the philosophy I have today because of jiu-jitsu. It wasn't like that in the beginning. So probably my journey brought me to this way of mind, this philosophy, this brain working I have today. In the beginning, I competed in so many disciplines, kickboxing, MMA, grappling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Because I wanted to experience, for me, my opinion, a good fighter is a good fighter with every rules. Doesn't matter about the rules, you have to adapt yourself.
Okay.
You are a grappler. Okay, just experience wrestling, because in wrestling the rules are different. You have to stay more on your feet than on the ground, and so it's something that develop one part of your body and mind that you didn't train before.
Okay. Was that for tools of applying, for application, or for experience, life itself, just expand into new territories?
I mean, this is I like to experience new things. I mean, in terms of hobbies, works, passions, travels. So I think that being open-minded is the most important thing. That's why I wanted to prove myself in different rules in competitions. I was training jiu-jitsu, but I know that jiu-jitsu sport is different than jiu-jitsu for MMA, so I wanted to test my jiu-jitsu in MMA contest.
Okay.
You have to adapt. Okay.
Is that adaptation and experience helps you with the leadership as a self-leader for yourself, leading yourself, your life? Also, extension from that to your schools, I should say. Does it help you? How does it help you?
It helped me a lot because I understand that there is many ways to do jiu-jitsu. If I want to compete or prepare someone for competition in jiu-jitsu sport, I have to train them differently than if I want to compete or prepare someone for competition in MMA.
Okay.
It's different because the purpose is different. Rules are different.
Okay.
It's to be multitasking for me is very important for a good teacher. You develop even your speech when you teach.
Yes.
Towards that, you know. Sometimes you have to explain people with pins. Sometimes you have to explain people with sound, image. It's different. Everybody learns in a different way, and the good coach has to understand how to transfer the message to the guy, to the student, because every student is different.
So adapting to how they can receive itself, that, you know, because of course a lot of times we teaching to a whole class, but sometimes when you go specifically to a person, then you got to adapt to that person. That switches. Okay, this guy hasn't picked up, not because he's not bright, like you said, maybe he learns differently. Then, you know, one shoes, one foot, it just doesn't, you need different sizes. That's just the way it is.
Yes.
Having the ability to adapt.
You have people. I saw your way of teaching. You moved with guys. You let them try on you. You try on them. In my opinion, this is very important. To feel the contact, because it's not the same to take someone, do the technique, and let him or her feel the technique, then viewing.
Yes.
You need both. When I teach, I do the same. I show technique. I let people record in the technique, put on social medias, because like that they can see and watch and watch again every time they want. But after that, I go to everybody and I let them try on me and I try on them. Because they
also,
have to
you get this, the body to body, different body types. It doesn't work on this person, but it works on another person. And why? To be able to learn to apply with different body, that body can even create different positions.
True.
Some people got, like myself, my right hip is extremely stiff. So the way I move, even when I was younger to now, is completely different. So certain moves just doesn't work for me.
True.
But I might be able to teach a technique that doesn't work for me, but it may work for one of my students. That adaptability.
Jiu-jitsu and wrestling are the same in this sphere. I think if you see Seijudo is not Ben Askren, you know what I mean. Jiu-jitsu is the same. My jiu-jitsu is different than jiu-jitsu all my black belts have.
That's it. That the individual style and signatures there. Bernado Serrini's BJJ is a different signature to if I did, say wrestling, you did wrestling or applied, to BJJ. It's completely different. And for sure, I mean, my approach has been radically different. But sometimes if they come say radically different, so, well, I'm explaining a different thing. I'm explaining how the body function works, how the movement works, how do you win the positions, you know what I mean? Yeah. Not just the technique. Does the technique work in this position? It doesn't work there, so there's an approach and a philosophy that comes there, switching over. So that's just completely different to a developmental class, 1, 2, 3 shots. So, that could be really good initially. It's got his own advantages, but he needs to expand to other areas to work as a whole system, I always say. Then again, that adaptation can come in to be able to get a bigger picture. We see the whole elephant, not just one side of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I think that in Jiu-Jitsu, one of my favorite idea of one of the things I'm more proud to show is that for me, a good teacher gives everybody his Jiu-Jitsu.
His Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. My Jiu-Jitsu, I like to stay on top and pass the guard, but I don't teach only this, I teach everything. Step by step, with the baby step you said before, everybody will find his own dimension, and will find his own Jiu-Jitsu that can be more playing from the guard, or taking the back, or playing the La Riva guard, or passing the guard.
So, one last question maybe before we end. If you had one choice and you became leader of the world, and the world was based on Jiu-Jitsu, as a leader, what would you say would is a very difficult question because you have to narrow everything down. What would be your approach? Would it be a dictatorship? Would it be adaptation? What would it be? What is your idea as a leader?
For everybody, I don't know. This is a position. Let's say, if I was in this position, but in this position I'm not able to be.
No.
It's something like, if I was you, but I'm not you. It's a difficult question. If I was the leader of the world, like you say, I don't know. Probably I'm not a politician, to be honest. Probably I was pushing people to do Jiu-Jitsu in a softly way,
Softly way.
Yeah, just working on making them understand the benefits that Jiu-Jitsu can give to their life.
Okay.
But not only Jiu-Jitsu. It can be something like wrestling or MMA, even boxing. Why not kickboxing? Something that brings your limit step by step up,
Okay.
You're here today, you have to be here tomorrow,
The personal growth is going forward, isn't it?
Yes.
And
improving, not perfection,
Improving, not perfection. And in a very soft way. Land softly. You can say to someone, shut up, or you can say,
you have to do Jiu-Jitsu, that's it, stop.
Keep the nose down, tiny bit down.
I don't think I would be able to do something like that.
So is your approach is softer and see the benefits, is sure in the benefits, and whatever you're doing, make sure you're progressing in life and going forward gradually, improving, not perfecting.
Yeah.
So that is your idea of leadership with the Mad Side BJJ, and more than that, I guess, Esmaeli Wrestling Italy, and I'm looking forward to continue working with you. This expansion, there's been big progress in terms of Infuse. I'll be sharing those very soon. Not yet because it's not fully completed. And hopefully I'll come back and you'll come back too, because we got the school in England now, so we can start looking at it in a different way, and expand from there. But, thank you for, accepting my request so we can have a chat. And
it was a pleasure.
Okay, any message for my students?
For your students?
Whoever's my followers.
I can tell your students this. Look, guys, Said is gold. Just take care of him, okay?
Why am I God? Gold. Said is gold. Okay. I thought you said God.
No, not God. Said is like gold.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Much love to Italy, and I'm looking forward to coming back after COVID. Stay safe, everyone. And I'm genuinely looking forward there. And we've expanded, to some really top level level of knowledge, which I don't want to share yet. And I'm looking forward just like collaborate and just take this to another level. As you said, share our, whatever is available to us to the school with our philosophy. Okay. Much love, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great night. Ciao.
Have a good day. Bye. Ciao. Ciao.